Hey everyone, welcome to my channel Splash, where I talk about NBA news and basketball news in general. My name is Kiefer. I've been an NBA fan for about 5 years. I'm especially a fan of the Golden State Warriors, and that is why for my first video on this channel, we'll be discussing the free agency and off-season that the Golden State Warriors have had so far, why they failed last year, and what they need to do this year with their free agency signings, their draft picks, and how they should use them in order to win a championship this year. The Warriors last year had quite the disappointing season. This is mostly due to the fact that last year Stephen Curry was playing with a new roster. Also, that roster was pretty lackluster in my opinion. So Stephen Curry had another MVP level season. He was an MVP candidate. I think he went third. And Draymond Green, as usual, was a great defender, placed again third as a Defensive Player of the Year candidate. However, even though two of its players were doing very well in their respective roles, the team itself wasn't really very good. Now let's start with Stephen Curry. Stephen Curry did basically everything he could. On offense, he carried the offense. He was the only one who could consistently score every night. Which is to say, he's the only consistent scorer on the team. The only efficient scorer on the team, besides maybe Andrew Wiggins sometimes. So Stephen Curry had to carry the load, and he's just not that kind of player. He's not the kind of player who can carry you to a lot of wins and a finals berth. He's the kind of player that elevates the ceiling of a team. He doesn't raise the floor of the team, although he can to some extent. But he isn't as proficient at it like, let's say, a LeBron James or Russell Westbrook. Next, let's discuss Draymond Green. Draymond Green was very disappointing last year. Draymond Green is an all-star was an all-star at least in 2016, and that was mostly because not only did he help to run the offense for the Warriors, he was their centerpiece on defense. However, last season and 2016, there was a huge difference in the playstyle of Draymond Green, especially on offense. On the defensive end, he only regressed athletically, but he still was an amazing defender and a centerpiece of the Warriors' defense. In fact, it looked like he had gone smarter as a defender. However, on offense, there's been a huge drop-off since 2016. Most likely due to because he, his only role from 2017 to 2019 was just distributing the ball to Kevin Durant, Klay Thompson, and Stephen Curry. So he didn't really have to put the ball in the basket. And because of that and the lack of training on the offensive side, this year he shot a abysmal, piss poor 21% from three, which is just a huge drop off from the 40% he was at in 2016. So Draymond Green regressed offensively, and that affected the Warriors a lot, because in 2016 he could give some spacing for Stephen Curry, but now he can't provide any spacing whatsoever with his 21% from three. So teams can just double team Stephen Curry from half court, and Stephen Curry will have to pass it. Although Stephen Curry is a great off-ball player, there's not much you can do when you're double teamed, and when Steph passes it out, no one else can create offense. Now let's talk about the new additions last year, the new team around Steph. So last year, Kelly Oubre and Andrew Wiggins were new additions to the team, along with Juan Toscano-Anderson and Michael Mulder. Michael Mulder was there with us last season with D'Angelo. Yeah, Michael Mulder's not new, sorry, my bad. So basically Andrew Wiggins and Kelly Oubre. Steph has played with only Andrew Wiggins and Jordan Poole, Eric Paschall for one game, and then Kelly Oubre was completely new this season. So a major reason why the Warriors failed, at least at the start of the season, was because it was a new team and they were getting used to each other. Another huge reason was specifically two players. One was Kelly Oubre, since at the beginning of the season, he was absolutely atrocious. The man could not buy a bucket. He was a brick all around. He was shot 10% from three? He was just terrible from the three-point line. There was a few consecutive games where he couldn't make a single three. That's how bad it was. That's how bad he started the season, at least. how he ended it was a different story. He ended it relatively, average, his average performance, what we expect of him. But the start of the season was absolutely abysmal for him. For some reason, he just couldn't score. He just couldn't shoot, at least. His scoring, his off-ball cutting was also a bit questionable since he was getting used to the Warrior system, and he did take a lot of, just very unintelligent plays, unintelligent buckets. He just did a lot of non-smart plays, and just in general, he was just a weird fit for the Warriors offense. Sometimes he ball hogged too much, sometimes he didn't pass to an open shooter, like open Steph. He'd rather take it inside. Sometimes he took a tough shot when there was a better shot available. So Kelly Oubre just wasn't a good fit for us last season, so that's one of the reasons why we failed. Another reason, Andrew Wiggins also started the season pretty bad, although after he got out of that slump at the start, he became a very efficient slasher and floor spacer for Steph and the rest of the team. So basically, it was just Kelly Oubre being an absolute brick and not doing his job by making open threes, and the rest of the team being new to the Warriors system and needing time to adjust to how Steve Kerr runs the offense, or at least how the Warriors run the offense. Lastly, I would like to talk about Brad Wanamaker. Thank God we got rid of him at the middle of the season, because that man was terrible. That man was ass. He was terrible. In fact, if I signed on with the Warriors and replaced him, I think I could do a better job. I'm just kidding, I'm just kidding, but that was how terrible he was. He couldn't make an open shot, and it wasn't like Kelly Oubre, who got out of his slump eventually. He stayed like that from the beginning to the middle of the season until we got rid of him. He couldn't make any plays. In fact, he wasn't a scoring threat at all. No off-ball movement, no layup, even layups, no isolations threat. At least Kelly Oubre could get a bucket, right? At least Kelly Oubre, knew when to get his, knew when to score, and could score. Brad Wanamaker couldn't do any of those things. The only thing he could do was like pass and start the offense. That was it. He couldn't even run the offense. He couldn't run pick and rolls. He couldn't do anything. So, just bad memories of Brad. Now, after looking at the cancer of Brad Wanamaker just being bad at basketball, let's move on to some good news. Now, the Warriors drafted Jonathan Kuminga at number 7 in this year's NBA draft. Now, why is that good? Because Jonathan Kuminga can be a great slasher off the bench for us. He can provide something that we sorely lacked last season, which is scoring off the bench. Now, Jonathan Kuminga is a great athlete. He's strong, athletic, can finish through contact, is a great slasher, has somewhat of an inconsistent jump shot, but is a good enough shooter that defenders will have to step up and respect his shot. Now, I predict that next year he'll probably come off the bench and help provide scoring for us by just driving to the rim and scoring at the rim, either above or under the rim. Just being a great presence for us on the wing. Something we were sorely lacking on our bench unit, especially now that we've traded Eric Paschall, which in my opinion, for a protected second round pick, was quite the mistake. At least now we have the contract space to sign Jonathan Kuminga to his rookie contract, and I think that he has a lot of potential as a rookie, and we can develop him into something of a stud, or maybe even a star if that's possible. But however, next season, all he'll do is provide scoring off the bench by slashing to the rim, and also drawing defenders into the paint and opening up the 3-point line for shooters, because he has the ability to play make and pass out of the paint into shooters. He has just a pretty good ability to pass it up. The other Warriors draft pick is number 14, where we drafted Moses Moody, I believe his name was. Now, I will admit I'm not too sure about Moses Moody. I believe, I'm not too familiar with Moses Moody's game. However, from the scouting report that I read, he is a very good playmaker. He's a great shooter. Not great, he's a good shooter. Probably a 40% shooter next season. So he'll provide great spacing for us off the bench, which is another thing we were sorely lacking, spacing for Stephen Curry to operate. Now that Clay is coming back, and we just drafted Moses Moody, Jordan Poole's come out to be a good shooter. I think Draymond Green hopefully promised to develop his shot in the off-season. I think the spacing will be much better as compared to last season. So Moses Moody, he'll probably come off the bench as Jordan Poole's backcourt mate, and I think that pairing could work very well. Jordan Poole being the scorer of the group, and Moses Moody being the playmaker, since Moses Moody against Jordan Poole, at least last year, was more of a scorer and didn't really play make much for his teammates, and Moses Moody can fill that playmaking role that Jordan Poole can't. So I see how those two can fit their own roles and work well together, mesh well together to create an efficient bench offense. Next up, we have the signing of Andre Iguodala. He's back. Oh, thank God he's back. Okay, no. In all seriousness though, Andre Iguodala coming back to Golden State is incredible. Andre Iguodala was a big part he was our sixth man in those championship runs from 2015 to 2019. And the fact that he's back is amazing, since most of us thought, after this he'd just retire with the Heat. So the fact that he's back will help us, just give us a defensive presence on the other end. Of course, he's aged now. He's 30 plus, 34, 35. He's old basically. So his athleticism has regressed, and thus his defensive presence has regressed. However, I think he still will be able to provide a noticeable and great defensive impact. I think he won't be able to lock up stars like he used to. However, he can still pester them and just make it a hard time for opposing stars against the Warriors' defense. He'll also be a great veteran presence for Jonathan Kuminga and Moses Moody, JTA, Jordan Poole, basically all the youngsters on our team, since he can use his championship experience to really help develop our young players next season. So that will be fire. Another free agent signing that we did was Otto Porter Jr. Now, Otto Porter Jr. is a 40% three-point shooter, so probably again coming off the bench, he will provide spacing for Stephen Curry, which is again very important. He'll provide extra spacing so that Stephen Curry can operate, Klay Thompson can get open for more threes, and just basically giving more spacing to the Warriors' offense, something that was sorely lacking last season. We've also added hold on, let me check the name. Nemanja Village, I'm saying that wrong, but basically a Slovenian big man. He's also a great shooter. I watched him in the Olympics this season, facing against Australia. He played great. He'll be another great player to help space the floor for Steph and Clay, and he's also a big man, which is always good to have, since we don't really have many big men besides James Wiseman. Speaking of James Wiseman, let's move on to him. Hopefully James Wiseman improves, with him being mentored by Nikola Jokic's mentor, this season's MVP, and Kevin Garnett. So hopefully he can learn from Kevin Garnett from the defensive end and from Nikola Jokic's mentor on the offensive end. So that wraps up all the off-season moves that the Warriors have done as of 10th August. Now, beyond this, I don't know if the Warriors are going to add any more players, maybe a vet, maybe a superstar. They should add Paul Millsap if he's still available. But now, let's discuss with this current roster what the Warriors can do to win an NBA championship and capitalize on the shrinking primes of Stephen Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green, their championship core. Now, it pains me to say this, but in my opinion at least, it's quite unlikely that the Warriors will make the finals this season, because the Lakers and the Nets are just looking like powerhouses. So it really does pain me to say that my team, the Golden State Warriors, probably won't make the finals or win a ring. However, I will never doubt the heart of the champion, and it's very possible that the Warriors overcome the odds and really make a championship run this season. So this is what, in my opinion, they will have to do to win a championship. Firstly, they will need to get everyone on the same page. Everyone needs to be clear on how the offense is run, what they need to do for Steph and Clay, which is screen for them, set pin downs, set hard pin downs especially, so that Steph and Clay can get open, because those two will be the main drivers of our offense. Steph will probably average around 30 points, Clay maybe 20 points if he comes back fully healthy, which hopefully he does. The bench will have to input their own scoring. Draymond Green next year will have to be able to space the floor somewhat, even at 33% will be enough. You know, it's better than the 21% that he, did last year. 33% is respectable, 21% is not. Now, next up we have Jonathan Kuminga and the rookies. Jonathan Kuminga, all he will have to do is slash off the bench and score maybe 10 to 15 points on good efficiency from 2 and at least the league average efficiency from 3, which I can already see him doing. Moses Moody will have to shoot at least 40% from 3 and provide some scoring off the bench, like maybe 10 points, 10 to 12 points at least. And I also want him to be a playmaker off the bench for Jordan Poole, Michael Mulder, JTA, and Jonathan Kuminga. So that's what he'll have to do. The rest of the bench just has to stick to their roles. Jordan Poole will just have to be the sixth man and score and a scorer off the bench. JTA just has to continue being the energy guy on offense and defense, just make his hustle plays. Michael Mulder will have to make at least a 3 outside of garbage time. Hopefully he does and gets out of his garbage time Mulder nickname. And Andre Iguodala off the bench will just have to be a good mentor and provide somewhat of his usual defensive presence. Now, next season, what I want to talk about is Steve Kerr. Steve Kerr is the head coach of the Golden State Warriors, and what he does next with Steph Curry's minutes will determine how many regular season games he wins, or the Golden State Warriors win. Now, Steve Kerr since 2016 has limited Steph Curry's minutes to 6 minutes in the fourth quarter, which is the last quarter of any NBA game or any basketball game. This is weird because you want your superstar, your best player, to be playing in as much of the last part of the game as you want, right? So that you can close out the win. But for some reason, Steve Kerr wants to put Stephen Curry in the last half of the fourth quarter, although most superstars usually play the entirety or at least 10 minutes of the fourth quarter instead of Steph's 6. So I think Steve Kerr will have to adjust. I think Steve Kerr will have to play Steph at least 10 minutes or 8 minutes even, will be better than 6 minutes of the fourth quarter, and I think they will win a lot more games because last season there were actually so many games, at least 10 to 15 games that they could have won if Stephen Curry had just been subbed in maybe 2 minutes earlier in the fourth quarter. So that's one adjustment that Steve Kerr will have to make. On defense, Draymond Green just has to anchor the defense as usual, and everyone just has to give up their energy. Last season, the Warriors were already a top 10 defense without, many good defensive players except for Andrew Wiggins and Draymond Green. So this season, as long as we put up effort and as long as the Warriors put in effort on that end, they have Klay Thompson, they have Andre Iguodala, they have Draymond Green, they have Juan Toscano-Anderson, they have Andrew Wiggins, all long wing players who can lock up. And Steph is Steph. I think he's improved on the defensive end, but as long as our team defense is good, which it always has been because Mike Brown is a great coach, I think the defensive end is pretty much set. So that's what the Warriors will have to do next season in order to overcome the odds, beat the Lakers in the Western Conference Finals, and probably the Nets in the finals. Although we never know, AD might get injured and they might get knocked out in the first round again. The Lakers are pretty old, they're like an elderly home right now. And the Nets are kind of unfair, so I'm just hoping that, they kind of collapse and so the Warriors can win. But that's what the Warriors will have to do to win a championship this season. Thank you for watching, guys. That does it for today's video. I want to thank you for taking the time to watch and hear my unprofessional opinion, in all honesty, but I hope that my opinion will get you thinking. And if you have any opinions on this video, how I can improve, or if you disagree with me, or if you agree with me, put your opinions down in the comments below. I want to read them, I want to hear them, I want to like them. I want to discuss and just in general have a great time talking with y'all and this community in YouTube. This is my first video, so if you have any complaints, about the editing style or whatever, please also leave them down in the comments so I can improve on my video editing style. Lastly, I would like you to like and subscribe. Yes, I know this is controversial, you know, on YouTube asking you to like and subscribe, yes. So basically just like if you like the video, I'm not gonna force you, and subscribe if you want more of this content. Of course, if you subscribe, you'll be one of my first followers, and if we're more big, you know, you could be pretty honored. But if I don't, then, you know, hopefully you subscribe for more of my takes on NBA news and NBA content. Hope you'll stick around for more by ringing the notification bell so you get the notification anytime I post a video. And yeah, that's about it. See you guys next time.